Red Deer Lacombe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be splitting my time with my colleague from Calgary, Rocky Ridge. Madam Speaker, we're continuing on the debate. We've just had a vote in this place where we've amended the motion, and I am a member of the Procedure and House Affairs Committee, for whom this will ultimately, if this motion is passed, will be dealing with the question at hand, and the amendment that my colleagues have just made to the motion would see that the Procedure and House Affairs Committee deal with this within the first 24 hours of the passage of the motion that I'm currently rising to debate upon, and report back to this House by the 14th, which would be next week before this House adjourns and rises for the Christmas break. And I frankly can't believe. I frankly can't believe that I am witnessing what I'm witnessing as a member of this chamber for. It'll be 18 years in January, Madam Speaker. It is a rare thing indeed to have a member of Parliament get elected Speaker and then have to resign in the middle of a parliamentary term. Normally, the member of Parliament that's elected to be Speaker, we jokingly resist, or the person that's elected jokingly resists that they're going to be cast into the chair of Speaker because supposedly nobody actually wants this job, but it is actually an important job, and it's an important role to serve as the independent arbiter of all of the rules by which we conduct the debates on the business of the nation. But to see a Speaker resign, I haven't seen it in the 18 years. As a matter of fact, we'd have to go back a long time in our history to recall a previous Speaker resigning due to issues in this place. And now, just 2 months after we've replaced one Speaker in an unprecedented situation, this House is now seized with a privileged question about whether or not the replacement of a resigned Speaker, a new Speaker, ought to himself resign. Now, I'm a Conservative member of Parliament, Madam Speaker, and my party has been very clear about whether or not we think that the appropriateness of what the Speaker has done should constitute the individual resigning. We're not the only political party. Our Bloc Québécois colleagues in this place have also indicated that they have lost confidence in the current Speaker. And I guess we'll wait and see if this motion passes this chamber, which, given the fact that it was unanimous to amend the motion, all MPs in this place just moments ago voted in favor of an amendment. It was a unanimous thing. So one can only presume, Madam Speaker, that the question will be referred to committee and will be probably dealt with within 24 hours after the vote, which, Madam Speaker, will likely, if it doesn't happen today, will happen tomorrow, which means at the very latest, the Procedure and House Affairs Committee will be seized with this matter as early as tomorrow and at the latest Friday of this week, and reported back to this place next Thursday at the latest. And Procedure and House Affairs Committee, Madam Speaker, is seized with a number of issues. We're dealing with a question of privilege regarding our colleague, Mr. Chong, in relation to foreign interference in his duties as a member of Parliament. The Procedure and House Affairs Committee is still seized with the general question of foreign interference in our elections. And the Procedure and House Affairs Committee has yet to begin its study on the matter of the previous Speaker's issue of inviting a a former Nazi into this place during the visit of Ukrainian President Zelensky, and now the very busy Procedure and House Affairs Committee, it seems, is now going to have to study this question at hand as a matter of precedence should this motion continue to get support and pass either today or tomorrow, Madam Speaker. And here's why the Procedure and House Affairs Committee is seized with all of these issues, because trust has been broken. At the end of the day, this is all about trust. It's about trusting that the government has the best intention and ability to not only manage the institutions of government, but also the institution of Parliament. And, Madam Speaker, I would submit to you and to my colleagues here in this place that we need to get to the bottom of this in a timely fashion, because it is again another, what I would call a stain, perhaps might be too strong a word, but a stain on the reputation and credibility of this place. And I should note, Madam Speaker, that if you were to count the numbers of members of Parliament in this place that serve in the Bloc Québécois caucus and in the Conservative caucus, that constitutes almost half of the MPs in this place. And now we might not have, and I don't know how everybody voted in this place, we may or may not have voted. Sometimes the person that is Speaker is somebody that I voted for, and sometimes the person who is Speaker isn't somebody that I voted for. And that's okay, because up until now, I've been able to get by in this place knowing with somewhat confidence and a semblance of trust that the referee that was elected, whether I voted for that referee or not, has actually been able to carry out the duties of Speaker in a way that it at least appeared nonpartisan. But here we are. The Speaker has used the privileges of his office, put on his robes, recorded a video acknowledging that he is the Speaker of the House of Commons for an address to an Ontario Liberal Party partisan event. And that is beyond inappropriate. Anybody who has just undertaken the responsibility of Speaker would have been given, I would assume, been given briefings, ought to have known what the actual role and responsibility of being the Speaker is before he or she would have even put up their hand, or in this case not removed their name from the list and allowed their name to stand for Speaker. And it is this overt partisanship after being elected Speaker which has put us in this scenario today. And it is one of trust, because if I as a member, if my privileges or any other member of this House's privileges are in some way impacted, we would expect that the Speaker would be able to carry out a nonpartisan view of the rules and protect the integrity of not only this institution, but the integrity and the rights and privileges of every member of Parliament. And this is fundamental. This is fundamental for our democracy and our democratic chamber to proceed with confidence, and not only the confidence of this House, but with the confidence of all Canadians. And I'll just remind my colleagues in this place that this is not the first time that the individual that's currently the Speaker has got himself in trouble for being partisan. I remember quite clearly that this member has written letters in his capacity as parliamentary secretary that breached some of the ethical provisions that we have in this place. I remember the individual vehemently defending the Prime Minister when it came to the Elbowgate matter with former MP Ruth Ellen Brousseau, and then actually called into question the integrity of Madame Brousseau because I think, if I remember correctly, he actually said that the incident was being exaggerated by Ms. Brousseau. So one can only draw some conclusions, Madam Speaker, that the individual has shown his true colors and cannot help but be partisan in a role that is specifically designed to be nonpartisan. Madam Speaker, that's why I would implore my colleagues in this place to vote for this motion, refer this to the Procedure and House Affairs Committee so that we can deal with the matter forthwith. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Kingston and the Islands.
Well, Madam Speaker, the member has already made up his mind. He sits on the Procedure and House Affairs Committee like I do. I'm going to vote in favour of this motion to send it to committee for committee to do the work. But if he's already made up his mind, what's the point in even supporting this motion? He already knows what his outcome is going to be at that committee. He's not going into it from an objective point of view of trying to listen to all the information and make a decision. I mean, he's effectively a judge in this case, and as a judge, he's coming before the defendant and saying, all right, listen, I already know you're guilty, but tell me what you think so I can make a decision. It's absolutely ludicrous. Why even bother voting for this motion if you already know the outcome that you plan to execute when you're on the committee?
Darn good question. Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
So far be it from me to know the inner workings of the mind of the member for Kingston and the Islands, even though he purports to know what's in the hearts and minds of everybody else in this chamber. Of course, I will listen objectively to all of the witnesses who are going to come to the committee. But, Madam Speaker, I've been here longer than the member of Kingston and the Islands and everybody that seems to be supporting him. I have seen this show before, and I will say to any colleague who is willing to listen to what I have to say, that I am looking forward to hearing not only from, and I would hope that the Speaker will come to Procedure and House Affairs Committee, but also to all of the other witnesses who would know what the conduct ought to be when it comes to the role of Speaker and make a determination at that particular point in time. I alone am not judge and jury on the Procedure and House Affairs Committee. I'm just one member, and I'll have my questions, and I expect that I'll get fulsome answers from all of the witnesses who come, including the Speaker.
Questions et commentaires. Questions and comments. L'honorable député de Terrebonne.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague. I have a question on the party's position, on his party's position. Their first position wasn't as clear as the one we had today. They hadn't asked for the Speaker to resign. Then they did ask for the Speaker to resign, and then now they're asking for it to go to committee. So I'd like my colleague to quickly sum up what the Conservative Party's position really is.
Honourable Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank my colleague for the question. I mean, the procedure in dealing with this is the procedure. So when there is a question and there's a prima facie case, as we awaited to see what the ruling was, we brought the issue up. In the chamber, the Speaker had to make a ruling. We waited for that ruling. The Speaker found a prima facie case, which then invokes the moving of a motion. My party, my House Leader moved that motion. The motion is the one that we're debating right now. I'm not sure what she doesn't understand about the process here. We're following the process as it's laid out, and we'll see what happens should this motion get passed at the Procedure and House Affairs Committee. But I would like to thank at least her party, which has been, I think, clear in what it stands for. We here in the Conservative Party want a fair and objective Speaker. We believe in this country, we believe in this institution, and we believe that the person that's sitting in the Speaker's...
In the interest of giving the same time to questions as to answers, I have to give someone else a question. The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am encouraged to hear the point of view of the member for Red Deer Lacombe with respect to this going to PROC. My question for him is to understand better his perspective as someone who's been here longer than I have. My aspiration would be that process could be less partisan and more focused on what the best interests of Parliament is, separate from any political party. And I wondered if he could comment whether he shares that aspiration, and if he does, any advice on how the members of PROC could proceed in a way to follow that approach.
Red Deer Lacombe.
Well, I want to thank my colleague for the question. The members of the Procedure and House Affairs Committee, in the limited time that I've been on there, robustly debate the issues. We all have our own thoughts and ideas, and we generally do get good work done. So I am confident that the Procedure and House Affairs Committee will work constructively towards a resolution on the matter at hand should it get referred.